I am the UGA Extension 4-H agent in Fulton County, and with me I have
Alexis Roberts. Hi, I'm a Family Consumer Science agent.
Today we are filming for our Fulton Fresh Kids Market. What are we making tonight?
So today we're making apple sandwiches.
Ooh, yeah.
So apple sandwiches are a really great snack and they're super easy to make and only have 3 ingredients. We're really happy to be sharing them with you guys.
Good, so how do we get started? What are our ingredients?
Okay, so our 3 ingredients are going to be apples, we have granola, and then almond butter.
Now I see that we have green apples here. Does it matter what kind of apples you use?
No, so I chose green apples because they're a little bit more tart and I think that they go really well with almond butter or peanut butter. But you're free to use whatever kind of apple that you like or that you have on hand. It's also good to get a variety of colors because each color of fruit represents different nutrients.
Okay. And we have almond butter. Can I use any other kind of nut butter?
Yeah, so you can use peanut butter or you can use yogurt if you do have some sort of nut allergy. And we'll talk about why we chose almond butter a little bit later.
Alright, so what if I want to prep this recipe for later, say when school starts back up and I want this to be a snack for my child?
Yeah, so sometimes people don't like preparing apples ahead of time because they brown, but that's just oxidation. Whenever air hits that part of the apple, it turns brown. So what you can do to stop that oxidation process is add a little citrus. So right now we have 100% pineapple juice, and so you can add it. So I could pour my pineapple juice into this bowl and then go ahead and cut my apples and have them soak in here for an extended period of time. Or you can actually do 2 tablespoons of honey with a cup of water and have them in there for 30 seconds and then take them out, and that helps to prevent browning.
Okay, so I've always heard to use lemon juice.
So you can use lemon juice, but lemon juice is going to be a lot more tart, and so this is going to have a little bit of a sweeter flavor without taking any flavor away from the apple.
How do we get started? How do we make this?
Okay, so first we want to wash our hands for at least 20 seconds. We can sing the ABCs or Happy Birthday twice. And then we also want to make sure that we wash our produce. So I've already rinsed all of our apples. You can also use a produce brush to scrub to make sure that you're kind of getting any dirt off.
Okay.
So I'm going to make sure I grab a clean cutting board and my knife. So we're going to cut vertically. And so I'm going to make sure I curl my fingers so that I'm cutting safely. If you're doing this at home, you want to make sure that you have an adult around to help you.
Safety first.
Safety first. So as I cut these, I want them about half an inch thick or about 1/4 of an inch. You don't want it too thick for your sandwiches. So I'm going to turn this around and then I'm going to cut the other half. And then I'm just going to set our apple aside. And so right now we have 2 rounds, the beginnings of a sandwich.
Okay, so the apples are basically kind of like bread.
Yeah, so this is what we would traditionally think of kind of like our bread.
Okay.
So like bread, apples are actually going to be high in fiber. And so fiber is something that helps to keep you fuller longer. It's really good for your body. You may be tempted to also peel your apples. We're going to recommend that you don't do that because about 2/3 of the of the fiber is actually in the apple peel. So we want to make sure that we keep that and healthy for our bodies. Okay? So next we're going to take our almond butter. So our almond butter is going to be our spread. Our recipe calls for about 2 tablespoons. So I'm going to just take this off. I'm going to take this off and we'll put it in our holder. So we chose almond butter for this recipe in comparison to peanut butter. Number 1, just in case people do have a peanut allergy, which is very common. Also, almond butter tends to be a little bit lower in sugar in comparison to peanut butter. And it has a little bit more fiber typically. So next, I'm going to take my little spatula and I'm going to, if I can get it to come off, here we go. And then I'm just going to evenly spread it over my apple. I don't know if you guys can see it. Ooh. And this is a little harder to spread with my spatula, so it might be easier if you have a metal knife than what we're doing. So you do want to make sure that you measure out your almond butter, which can be really healthy for us, but we don't want to have too much because it can contain significant amounts of sugar. So it's something that we want to make sure that we do measure out. So this is an example.
Do they make almond butter or any other type of nut butter with like less sugar in it?
So you do, so you can. So what that is something something if you want to look for when you're shopping is look for the least amount of added sugar. So I shopped around. This is kind of the lowest that I saw, which is about 2 grams, which like I said is going to be less typically than peanut butter. Okay, so I have a spread on one. So this 2 tablespoons of almond butter is for our entire apple, but we're just going to show you just 1 slice. But you would keep slicing if you were at home. So next, we're going to get our granola.
Now, is that granola flavored at all?
So this granola does have some apple bits in it. I chose this granola because it had the lowest amount of sugar that I could find. So granola can be a great snack. It's also high in fiber and can be made with cereal grains that are really healthy for us. But the same with our almond butter and our peanut butter, sometimes they can be high in sugar. So we want to make sure that we're shopping for the least amount of sugar.
I'll give our apple a nice crunch to it.
So I'm going to measure out 2 tablespoons of this. And so with granola, that's also something we tend to overdo a lot. So making sure that we stick to our recipe. So our granola is actually a little bit chunkier than I'd like. So because this is my serving, I'm going to break it up. So say if we were live, of course, or we were in person, I would have gloves on. But since, you know, the snack is for me, then I'm just going to kind of break it up on my own. I get a nice little layer, and this is my favorite because it's going to add some crunch. So we have some crunch with our apple, but we're also going to have a little texture change with the granola. And then I'm going to go ahead and spread a little bit of almond butter on the top of my other half, if it wants to go on smoothly, to be determined. A little challenging. So like I said, you definitely want to probably have a spatula at home. It's not a spatula, excuse me, a metal spatula would be easier. And this is the first, excuse me, and I'm going to grab our plate here. I have a little bit of almond butter on my hands. And this is the first of one of our apple sandwiches.
Yum, looks delicious.
And so the serving size for this recipe is the entire apple, so I would keep slicing and make as many sandwiches as I could from this one apple. And thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you for showing us this recipe. It looks delicious.
All right, you guys make it and tell us what you think.
See you later.